Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are in the middle of it on this Monday, the 6th. Thank y'all so much for being with me. I'm Jeb Hart. Happy to have you here. Got Clayton Harris with me back in the studio on the producer controls. How are we this Monday, Clayton?
Good morning, Jeb. Good Monday morning to you. Doing well. How
Oh, did
about
you have a
yourself?
good Easter with the family?
Yes, sir. How about yourself? You like you're out on location somewhere?
I am. If anybody on the watching the stream, I am not in my normal studio office. I am up in the mountains in Cashers, and there are kids running around inside the house. So I am outside, and I am also freezing.
Yeah.
But you gotta make it work. I'm out here soldiering through, just for the got to slave for your art. Um, But no, we had a great time. My little sister and her family were up here with all the kids and the cousins running around and playing in the woods and the creeks and just it's a good time to get up and back to reality today. We're driving back, but so we'll be back to our normal studio tomorrow. But for now, we are here and are gonna kind of go through it. I think, as a recap for the week, I also, there's a decent amount to talk about. Obviously, stuff from Iraq is always going to, I mean, so Iran will probably lead with. I also have, probably going to have a guest later on, depending on timelines. Mike Montgomery's probably going to pop down here, but we'll get to that as his time allows for. And a few other stories touch on Supreme Court and a few others. But I guess we'll start where most of these things the past month and change have with the war in Iran, because we're barely into month two of this war, and people are already throwing around phrases like "forever war," like it's some reflex. You know, like we've been stuck in this desert for 15 years. Like every military action is automatically Iraq, or every escalation is automatically Afghanistan. Every mild complication is automatically turned into some inescapable quagmire. And that's just a lazy and relatively intellectually dishonest take, because whatever you want to say about this conflict, month two is not year 20. And that's not even the story right now, because the bigger story is not some endless drift. It's that the war is starting to change shape. And, that's not made any clearer than what happened with the downed American fighter crew, because you know, people keep talking about the rescue like it was a line item. Like, yeah, one of our planes got hit, we got our guys back, moving on. No, I mean, that's not what happened. What happened was a lot more revealing than that, because the US F-15 Eagle was shot down over Iran. That alone is a serious event. The first US flown F-15 ever shot down in combat. And that kind of gave the usual crowd reactionary crowd, kind of what they had been waiting for, the exact headline they had hoped to be able to jump on top of, with the whole, here we go again, or, another blunder, another endless mess with another, no off ramp or whatever it may be. And then the, reality of it all interrupted their monologue, because the details that come out after, were not the details of a military losing control. They were the details of a military responding directly under pressure with clean, concise, and you know, producible results. One crew member was recovered first. The second was seriously wounded, managed to climb up a mountainous region in Iran for nearly 2 days before being pulled out in a much more dangerous operation. You got to kind of now stop there for a minute, because it's not some tidy little PR sentence. You know, it's a huge deal. One member gets out, the second still in hostile territory, badly hurt. Time is passing. Iranian forces are looking, closing in. International questions about boots on the ground are still swirling. And the U.S., does not just shrug and say, well, that's war. No, they go and they get their boy. And, what followed was a complex rescue effort involving deception, intelligence, armed aircraft, and, enough risk and damaged transport planes had to be destroyed on the ground rather than leave them behind. It was a very expensive operation. I know that will get tossed around. It's around 300 million, because some of the planes got stuck and they had to blow them up, or as they'd leave them behind and then later blow them up. And people have brought up and talked a lot about that. And then somebody made a comment that I thought was really interesting, which was, you know, any foreign person who is looking at this is wondering why we would spend $300 million to get our, one guy back is the same reason that the fact they don't understand is the same reason that a piece of paper can't make you an American. Like we understand implicitly that that is kind of what we do. And from a morale standpoint, from the people who are out there fighting in this, knowing that that is the sort of effort they will go to on your behalf is very large moral boost. But what you see in all of that was, it wasn't panic. It wasn't, some improv in like the bad sense of the word. It's not some country that's just wandering around in the fog of all this. It was speed, precision, with deception and full commitment to what it was they were trying to accomplish. And that is a military saying, we're not leaving our people in enemy territory, and we're not leaving the equipment there either. I mean, we learned that lesson during the pullout of Afghanistan, of leaving things behind that didn't need to be there. And we're paying the cost of that now. But all that matters because a lot of, the countries that talk a big game about never leaving their people behind, we just watched the United States spend, 2 days proving to people what it actually looks like. And, losing the aircraft does matter. And anytime you start losing high-end equipment, putting American crews at serious risk, it's a pretty, intense thing. So nobody should pretend otherwise. But there is a difference between taking losses and taking back control, and the distinction matters because when you step back from, the daily noise, what you're actually seeing in this conflict moving quickly from one phase to another. And that may have started with strikes, targeted strikes, immediate military objectives, but it's already widening into something a lot bigger. Shipping lanes and energy markets, supply chains, food prices, fertilizer, inflation. And the real question of all of it is who gets stronger when the dust settles? And that becomes the real story of all of it. The stated objective is simple enough. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Fine, got it. That's the public line. That's the bumper sticker line. That's the sentence that fits on the podium. That's repeatable and pretty hard for most people to fight against. But wars of this size are never just about the sentence on the podium. They're about the systems that are underneath it: energy, trade, deterrence, logistics, financial pressure, geopolitical leverage. Because Hormuz is not just another patch of water. It's, as discussed at great length, the choke point that can squeeze the massive portion of 20% of the world's oil through that little passage. So, now that everybody understands the oil piece, because that's been, discussed at great length, if Hormuz gets shut down or severely disrupted, oil jumps. That part's easy. But that's not just an oil story. It's a shipping story. It's a fertilizer story. It's a price of food story, supply chain story, inflation story. At a certain point, the war is no longer just over there and it starts showing up in the grocery bills or at the gas tank, as we've discussed in window before. And that's how wars like this start to change shape. It starts with uranium and missiles and then moves on to oil and shipping. And before long, you're sitting at your kitchen table in the form of higher prices, slightly tighter supply, and the nagging realization that, too much of modern life still runs through places that can be threatened by regimes that treat choke points like weapons. And the ripple effects hurt. Of course they do. And the lesson is that you can't build a stable global economy around, narrow maritime bottlenecks controlled by unstable actors when the entire system starts shaking. And then pretend to act shocked because that's the structure you built it on. That model has always made is always more fragile than people want to admit. This war is more or less exposing that really quickly because of the uncertainty. Markets hate uncertainty, shipping hates uncertainty, shipping and insurers hate uncertainty. You know, consumers definitely hate uncertainty, and in the long run, a disruption like this forces a sort of realignment. Countries start looking for alternative suppliers, alternative routes, alternative financing relationships, and alternative partners. They diversify because they're required to. And when they do, a lot of that redirection points back towards places that are more stable. They are more accessible and more influenceable in, a legal way without forceful arms or under the table deal making back towards this hemisphere, back towards North America, back towards Western supply, toward producers the United States and its allies can actually work with. They can believe in and or trust. And that's why this war is not just about Iran not getting a bomb, it's about the architecture of the next phase of global trade. Because once purchasing patterns shift, dependency shifts, and the dependency is power. And that's one of the biggest stakes at play here in this whole thing. Not just who gets hit, not just who fires back, not just who dominates the headline for 12 hours, but who the world has to depend on when danger forces them to reroute. And that becomes the bigger question. Now, does that mean the entire war in some grand master plan, to pull the world back to America's, economic orbit? No, I don't think that was the full intent, and I wouldn't, oversell it as that. But it does mean the consequences are bigger than the stated aim of the war. That part's, pretty true. Pretending otherwise isn't very serious because, the public objective may be nuclear deterrence, but the real world consequences are so much wider. The risk, the pricing, the shipping, dependency, the profits. When the world starts rerouting around that danger, is the larger story. And that's exactly why the forever war language sounds so unserious right now, because calling this a forever war 2 months in is not analysis, it's muscle memory and historical anger. It's people looking at a new conflict and lazily assuming that we learned nothing from any previous one. That every military action is automatically the worst version of something before Afghanistan, Iraq. This is they're in their heads. We are on the starting month 2 of the 20-year occupation or war. And, it's nonsense. To be fair, could it get worse? Of course it could. Could it last longer than people hope? Absolutely. Could it go sideways? Of course, anything can happen. There's a huge difference between saying this could become more dangerous and saying we are already in another forever war. Those aren't the same claim. And right now, the evidence points to something else. A fast moving conflict that is already shifting from direct military objectives to strategic pressure on shipping, markets, supply, and trying to jockey for position with whatever post-war leverage will exist. And that's a different kind of war. That's why that rescue matters so much, because it's the perfect symbol of what we actually are. Not a military that's running out of ideas, but a country that's not paralyzed by indecision, that was not a broken institution wandering around. This was a bad event followed by a difficult operation that refused to let that event become some strategic humiliation. And we talked on the previous show is, what would have happened if he had been captured? Where would that have led us? What was the next steps in that of them being, paraded on television, tortured, or would that have been the gas can, the match of the gas can to, blow up oil fields? I don't know, but you remove that chess piece from the board, safe, and you can go back to, resettling it, because that would have been another variable in the math. And we are coming up on our break here. We can circle back more on this in just a moment, but thank y'all for being in the middle of it. I'm Jeb Hart, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
This is Coach Trudez Dog from Columbia Central High School football. You are listening to 101.7 WKOM in Columbia, Tennessee.
We at Hollins Pharmacy must be doing something right. We've been providing pharmaceutical services in the Middle Tennessee area for over 60 years. The guiding principles of our business are fast, accurate, friendly, personal service. We do not have long waiting lines, and our phone calls are answered by a staff member. We strive to get to know our customers by name, not just a date of birth or number. We are your locally owned hometown pharmacy, and we appreciate your business. We urge you to come visit us at Hollins Pharmacy, 1608 Hatcher Lane here in Columbia.
Hey, this is Derek Ransom with 10 Pin Alley, voted #1 family entertainment center in Murray County. We offer 32 bowling lanes, giant arcade, laser tag, bumper cars, and a full cafe and bar menu. We also specialize in group events, kids and adult birthday parties, company parties, sports team parties, and holiday parties. We're located at 322 East James Campbell Boulevard in Columbia. Call us today at 931-381-BOWL or visit us at 10pin.com. 10 Pin Alley, it's where the good times roll.
In today's uncertain world, you can never be too careful about your family's financial future. That's why the Parker Group, a part of Baird's Private Wealth Management, is offering a free second opinion on your financial plans. Let us review your current plan, and we will identify any gaps and offer suggestions to improve it. Please call the Parker Group at 931-548-3737. That's 931-548-3737. Robert W. Baird and Company Incorporated does not offer tax or legal advice.
This is Mark Curry at the Trailer Store. We are a local, family-owned business. Every day, I work with my wife, Susie, my mother, Becky, and my son, Justin. We offer a full line of lawnmower trailers, utility trailers, stock trailers, and a full line of trailer parts. We also offer service. Come see us at 1021 New Lewisburg Highway. Call us at 931-381-2795. That's 931-381-2795.
Farmer Johnny here, Taylor Family Farm. I want to give y'all a little look-see. We raise 100% non-GMO, grass-fed beef, pasture chicken, and pork on our family farm. Everything that we grow is raised with love and care to ensure the highest quality and nutrition for our family and customers. You can shop online at TaylorFamilyFarmTN.com or visit our farm store in person at Etheridge, Tennessee at 301 Dave Reisner Road. That's TaylorFamilyFarmTN.com for more information.
Hi, I'm Kelly Dobson, owner of Caring Hearts Home Healthcare here in Columbia. For over 20 years, we've proudly served our community, locally owned and operated, providing trusted care you can count on. We support seniors, individuals with disabilities, and even short-term care after surgery. From personal care to homemaking and companionship, our team is here to help you or your loved one live safely and comfortably at home. Call Caring Hearts today at 931-381-5470 or stop by in person, 1121 Trotwood Avenue here in Columbia.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones & Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones & Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Hello, my name is Zach Maddox. I'm a proud third-generation owner-operator of Columbia Paint and Wallcover, founded by my grandfather, Ralph Maddox, in 1946. We offer a variety of paint and wallcovering products, but our passion is customer service. We can offer many personalized services and can come out to your house or business if needed.
Come visit us at our Columbia location or our new Spring Hill location behind Church of the City, or visit us online at paintcolumbia.com.
This is Coach Devin Simler from Columbia Central Baseball. You are listening to 101.7 WKOM in Columbia, Tennessee.
The Mules are back in town, April 9th to 11th at the Murray County Park, Columbia, Tennessee. Live music, vendors, contests, and yes, mules. Mule pulling, gated mules, mule scrambles, and more. Join us Thursday through Saturday at the Murray County Park. Don't miss the Mule Day Parade, 11 a.m. Saturday, April 11th. Visit muleday.com for a complete schedule of events. Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Happy you'll be, or the service is free. And the Murray County Visitors Bureau. Plan your visit now at experiencemurray.com. Harmon Scrap Metal invites you to our annual Columbia Easter egg hunt. Join us Saturday, April 4th from 2 to 4 p.m. at Woodland Park Rotary Shelter in Columbia. With over 10,000 eggs, bounce houses, food trucks, and fun for kids of all ages. It's an event the whole family will love. So grab your baskets and hop on over for an afternoon of Easter fun. We'll see you there.
Columbia, your Love's travel stop just got a whole lot better. We've modernized our space at 1624 Bear Creek Pike at exit 46 to bring you more of what you want with fuel discounts, additional food offerings, and everything you need to hit the road with ease. come say hi at the remodeled Loves in Columbia. We thank you for allowing us to be a part of your community. Safe travels.
Welcome back. Stay in the middle of it. I'm Jeb Hart. Thanks for being with me on this Monday. Happy to be here with you. Clayton Harris with me back in the studio. How are we, Clayton?
Doing well, Jeb. Good morning.
I'm glad to hear that. When we cut to the break, we're kind of recapping some of the updates and the overarching themes with the conflict in Iran and the rescue mission, kind of the shifting.
Let me ask you a question real quick, Jeb.
Yeah.
How badass is the movie going to be when it comes out?
I think it'll be awesome. I'm want more. I know right now the details of how he got out. They gave some details. Obviously, the little birds and the cargo planes they had to leave behind made the news, but the actual logistics, how did he climb up that mountain? How injured was he? How did he contact them? Did they know where he was? Were they hunting? All of these really interesting details about it are, I want to find out more about. Also, even how it got shot down in the first place from.
I tell you what's incredible though, just watching and listening to, experts over the weekend talking about this. They're trained for this. There was famously that movie Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson and Gene Hackman. But apparently these guys, they know if something happens that they are trained for that exact moment and what to do. So I think I read that they had a transponder on them, a pistol, and that's really about it.
Yeah, I mean, they have the survival and evasion classes, like, hide your parachute and you have your stuff on you and all of these, protocols for how to do it. I know, like back in World War II, they had like collapsible, like I know the British had like collapsible bikes that like if they crashed, they were part of their parachute and they'd be able to like bike away or, there's always been different versions of it. And, technology has jumped up and the speed at which they put this together, timed it out, got it, and got him back is crazy impressive. While they're being hunted, and like I said before, like that is a sliding doors moment, and wondering, if they had captured him, what would they have done? What would have changed? Would that have been the match in the gasoline to just say screw it, or would that have been a leverage that they would have to be able to come back to the table to say, can we read? I don't know how that would. How do you think that would have gone? I mean, do you think it would have gone to where they would have, done the ISIS thing on like the YouTube video where they,
No.
show a
No,
beaten American and try to do that? Or would it have been, all right, let's meet in Pakistan. We have your guy. Let's talk about a ceasefire and go from there. How do you think it would have gone had he gotten?
It'd have been Sergeant Brody style. They'd have hung him from a crane or would have made a video. It wouldn't have been good. It would not have been good.
I tend to agree to that, and it also would have mattered, who captured him. Because right now you're getting into a weird spot because, and I know when they had that mild ceasefire, Trump had brought up that they needed to, they gave him, quote, he says like a gift, like a nice gift, but it was letting some ships through the Strait of Hormuz. But the goal of that wasn't even the ships getting through, which was nice. It was just to make sure that the people that they were talking to actually had power to do something. Because right now, if you've killed everybody, you don't even know who you're talking to if they can do the thing that they say they're doing.
And that's true. I mean, we found out yesterday that several more top Iranian officials have been killed. But going back to your question about what they would have done, I mean, considering that we've made highlight videos of us bombing the hell out of Iran, I just don't think it would have went well if they would have called the palace.
Yeah,
I just don't think it would have gone.
Yeah, I think they might have set some edits to music as well. And I mean, we're not blameless in the propaganda rhetoric game of this. I mean, you put free bird behind a montage of bombs.
Yeah.
I mean, is it American as hell? Yes. Is it the best PR possible? I don't know. I think that if that he would have gotten captured, I think they would have returned the favor, cinematically speaking.
Correct.
But I mean, I think in all of this, the thing that kind of I guess gets lost is that just wars are not just contests of firepower. They're contests of competence. They're of morale, logistics,
Strategy.
adaptation, and the political will or the political climate of either side. Again, if you want to understand, where this war is headed, I guess the lens that you need to know is not just who got hit or who said what or what's trending, but who can still operate, who can still adapt, who can still supply and rescue and deter and reposition and do all of this while under pressure, who can still shape what comes after the shooting is done. And that's the war that we're kind of starting to get ourselves into. And that's the changing of the shape of it that I was kind of alluding to, is that, if this continues in the direction that it's moving, we may look back and realize that what started as a war over the nuclear future became something a lot larger, a war that kind of accelerated a global reordering that we can kind of see happening right now around energy and shipping
Well,
and that sort of strategic dependence.
CNN's now reporting breaking news that Iran rejects ceasefire that would include the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. So we were warned yesterday that Tuesday was power plant day, and it very well may be.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes back to the initial thing we were talking about is the ceasefire. I don't even know who they would talk who like because we went over this several weeks ago, but after the Ayatollah was killed, like the 20 or the 40 people in the initial strike were killed, and then shortly thereafter the replacement IRGC officials were also killed. They enacted their like fracture protocol, which is basically each individual unit is their own autonomous thing. Like
The
it's a
janitor's in
protocol
charge
they have
now.
in case communication breaks down or leadership, basically for exactly this situation where they can't get centralized commands. Each, if you are the
Acts on
highest
their
ranking
own.
person in your platoon or battalion or regiment, whatever it may be, you're now operating independently. And so the idea of getting a ceasefire from these now fractured group without a centralized person, I don't even know how they would start with that because they don't even know who to talk to. And the power plant thing, that's a real touchy one because it'll be effective, but at what cost? And yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on it? Because I didn't think they were going to accept the ceasefire. Um,
Well,
yeah, I didn't think so, but I know there's been other, floated ideas of, instead of, paying what people are doing now is pay like they pay Iran to use the strait that, the US or other countries could, instead of doing that, instead of paying Iran that money to go through, some cases a couple $1 million for these boats, instead of doing that, just have them pay a US you know, escort fee for that same amount and get around it. There's been tons of things that have been brought up as far as the strait and how they do that moving forward. But I think making sure they're talking to the right people is important. So if the people they're talking to and spending so much time trying to negotiate or see what comes next aren't in the position to do what they say, or people are getting removed or eliminated, I think it's so fractured there that I don't know exactly how plug and play these roles and know who has the authority to get anything done.
I think the civilian population there is kind of on the sidelines right now. Kind of just, I don't think I think they have an idea of what's happening. I'm not sure how much of an idea just because of their limited access to the outside world. But you knock out their electricity, then all of a sudden 90 million people are going to be affected by that. And it's going to create some type of reaction. I don't know what kind of reaction it's going to create. And I think that's what you got to really weigh out if you're us, which is.
I mean, I don't see I know there's like several different versions of what that reaction would be. There'll be, obviously the NATO UN talking head pundit sphere reaction of, this isn't military infrastructure, this is civilian, which I think is a very fair point. Um, Also, historically, if you start going after civilian infrastructure as part of, a bombing campaign, it does tend to signal that things aren't going the way you would hope they were. Like because that's the kind of last option you go for when trying to do something like this. It's kind of all right, it's all we got left. Let's do this. Because if they're still not backing down, their military or their ability to continue to build things or build bombs has been decimated. Yet they won't do anything to fix it. They're still willing to wait it out, which was always kind of assumed that they were trying to play a war of attrition, and hope that we ran out of motivation, political capital, or bombs, and then tried to come back. But now I don't even know who we're negotiating with, what they want to get done, and even what, a ceasefire looks like to them. I mean, what I read a bit about at least what the Pakistanis were trying to get sorted and what they sent over. They didn't publish like the full thing, or at least I couldn't find it. And it was, a temporary ceasefire while they rediscussed. But the part of that, the main linchpin on the U.S. side was the opening of it, and that really is the only leverage that they have now, is it being, closed, or their ability to close it. So I understand why they wouldn't want to give that up at this point, but I don't know what other steps they have to make, or what other moves they have left in their arsenal. I mean, so CNN just said that. I mean, I could look it up there, but the headline is they rejected it. But
Correct.
I guess my question is who rejected it?
Exactly. No, is it the janitor? I mean, who? Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, if I worked at Apple and, in the 2000, Steve Jobs got killed and Tim Cook got killed, and then they blew up that giant circle campus thing, and I'm like like it goes all the way down to where like I'm like a janitor at an Apple store in, Phoenix, Arizona, and they're like, "All right, man, you're up now. Everyone else is gone." And now I'm running Apple. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know who I'm supposed to talk to, or if I even allowed to do stuff. And there is a negative to that potentially, is if you kill so many people, you no longer have anybody to negotiate with. So there has to be somebody on their end to be able to surrender. Like, we want an unconditional surrender. Who is even in the position to be able to offer that? Who would be able to have all these fragmented IRGC groups come to heel when their orders are, to break away and do their own thing, and they have, complete autonomy in that space. I don't know how it's even possible to negotiate with somebody who has that power to do any of that anymore within Iran. And I mean, that's the game we've played, and that's the situation we're in. So I don't know who right now. I mean, the Ayatollah who's been in the allegedly potentially gay comatose Ayatollah has not reared his head. Has there been any update on him at all?
I haven't heard anything.
I mean, they kind of slipped that one under the rug, hoping people would stop asking questions about like the cardboard cutout, and they're like, "Huh, that didn't fool anybody. Back to the drawing board. We'll try again. Maybe not talk about it." And but we are coming up on our break. That music in the background, I believe, would indicate such. We will see you on the other side. Thank you for being in the middle of it.
It's up to you what you really want to do. It works out anyway. What did you know? What did you say? Did you sing anyway? What did you know? What did you
This is Coach Trudez Dog from Columbia Central High School football. You are listening to 101.7 WKOM in Columbia, Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Robert Rogers at Parks Motor Sales Buick GMC.
And I'm Michael Parks Lawrence at Parks Motor Sales Buick GMC.
Together, we're Mr. Bobby Parks' grandsons, and we run his dealership, and we are glad to be part of our local community.
Being family owned and operated, we invest heavily in our community.
We do things like sports teams, schools, bands, you name it. We try to help everybody we can.
The reason why we do this is because we all love this community.
So come do business with us, your neighbors, at Parks Motor Sales in Columbia, Tennessee, right off Nashville Highway, or at parksmotorsales.com.
Let's talk custom design jewelry. Did you know Tillis Jewelry in downtown Columbia creates custom design jewelry and has been for over 30 years? From one-of-a-kind engagement rings to wedding bands and so much more. We want each piece to be as unique as you are and create a family heirloom for tomorrow. Call today and make an appointment with one of our designers. And just for calling, you will receive a free 30-minute consultation. Tillis Jewelry, creating custom jewelry proudly in Tennessee.
Spring starts at Trips Ace Hardware. On Saturday, April 25th, join us for our 5th annual Spring Day. Our garden center will be in full bloom. Explore premium grills from Rectech, Weber, and Big Green Egg with live demos throughout the day, and Milwaukee Tool on site with a full demo tent. Come see us at 112 East James Campbell Boulevard in Columbia. Thanks for shopping local at Trips Ace.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Do you have trees that need trimming or removed? Do you have stumps that you want grounded? A1 Tree Trimming and Removal is a family-owned and operated business local to Columbia and Lewisburg. They also service surrounding Middle Tennessee. We are licensed and insured and provide free estimates. No job is too big, no tree is too small. Give old Luke a call or text Luke at 931-359-3113. Or you can check them out on Facebook and tell A1 Tree Removal that you heard this ad on the radio. If you love America, then you will love A1 Tree Removal.
You're not just a homeowner, you're also an ice maker that didn't read the job description owner. Fortunately, you've got heating and cooling built and tested to keep going. American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, built to a higher standard.
Call Davis Heating and Cooling at 931-388-2090 for all your home comfort needs. Davis Heating and Cooling is your local independent American Standard dealer and proudly serves the Murray County area. Find Davis Heating and Cooling online and on Facebook or call today, 388-2090.
This is Debbie Matthews with the Nashville Realty Group, and if you've been paying attention, you know the housing market has been tough, but rates are beginning to thaw. So if you're thinking about selling, the time to jump in is getting better every day. But if you're thinking about buying, and those interest rates are still a little bit too high, a good agent knows how to negotiate interest rate buydowns, and I'm a good agent. So call me, Debbie Matthews with Nashville Realty Group, 615-476-3224.
Hi, I'm Matt Perales, manager of Murray County Equipment. We help you with all your agriculture and construction equipment needs. We carry a full line of New Holland tractors from compacts to high horsepower. We have a full line of gravely mowing equipment. We also have New Holland construction equipment, attachments, and accessories for your tractors and a complete parts department. We are locally owned and operated. Come see us at 1075 North James Campbell Boulevard or learn about us on Facebook or contact us at 931-490-8183.
This is Trip Stoltz with Columbia Ace Hardware. I love listening to 101.7 WKOM FM, Columbia, Tennessee.
Are you thinking about a new fence? Maybe you need a pole barn? Then you should give Sands Fence Company a call. That's 931-309-1644. Will Sands has built his business based on the principles of honesty, quality, and integrity. Sands Fence Company has been in business for over 20 years, providing their community with farm, residential, and commercial fencing, as well as pole barns and buildings. Call today for a free estimate. Sands Fence Company, 931-309-1644. That's 931-309-1644.
Okay, we'll still send it code 3.
This is Lieutenant Orlando Cox with the Columbia Police Department, welcoming you to Columbia, Tennessee, home of the Mule Day Parade. We expect in large crowds, exciting parade, and a lot of activities throughout Columbia. As we celebrate, please slow down, stay alert, and watch out for pedestrians. Follow officers' directions and avoid distractions. Please buckle up. Let's work together to keep Mule Day safe, fun for everyone. Have a great Mule Day weekend.
Welcome back to In the Middle of It. I'm Jeb Hart. I'm happy y'all are with me today on this Wednesday as we go in to our second hour. Got Clayton Harris with me in the studio. Morning, Clayton.
Morning, Jeb.
And joining me right now is herpetologist extraordinaire, brother-in-law, dear friend, and guy who is also sitting with me in the Braving the Cold to bring you some quality content here, my brother-in-law, Mike Montgomery. Good morning.
How's it going, folks? Happy to be here.
Yeah, so we're up here. We're as we talked about earlier, up here for Easter and kind of wrapping up. And we are talking, wanted to have him on. He's my brother-in-law, as previously discussed, but a very interesting fellow. He's a herpetologist. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
I want you to guess. Well, what guesses have you gotten here? I want him to go here, but
Well, we did have somebody. My advisor in graduate school had a public health office call him because they had a student with some sort of disease, and they said to call you because you're the herpetologist. He said, "No, that's not what I do. A herpetologist is a scientist or biologist who works in the field of reptiles and amphibians. So, snakes, lizards, salamanders, toads, all that sort of good stuff."
And you work for the city of Atlanta. I know you worked. He's worked with like the story arc, for the best I can remember, is you worked like at aquariums and stuff like that. You were a vet, and then insurance stuff. Then went back to do the passion of herpetology and marine biology and that sort of stuff. And you currently do stuff for the streams and water stuff for Georgia.
That's correct. So I have been at the Georgia Aquarium before. It's a very interesting place to work. I have been with Georgia DNR before. Also very interesting. Great to travel. We've got lovely streams and fish. I was a fish biologist with them. And then currently I am with the city of Atlanta as an ecologist, and we conduct really mostly stream walks. So there's 225 miles of stream in Atlanta, and we walk every bit of it within about a 4-year period, checking for sewer spills and doing environmental reports and that sort of thing. So I'm in waders every day, sweating or freezing, but I love it.
And there's a big thing that's going on in the Columbia area. I know before we went on air, I heard you talking to whoever's in the studio, Clayton, about the Columbia Dam situation. You're significantly more versed in it, and it's actually an overlap that he might have a lot more knowledge on about what we're trying to do with the dam in Columbia, what the issues are, and the drawn out parks. I know the ecology of it, the money, there's a bunch of other stuff, but he's kind of do you do some of those like feasibility study things would you explain what the issue is with the water in Murray County and what the solutions they've tried to do, and I want to get his thoughts on it from the kind of guy in the waders on the ground.
Yeah, well, they initially built the Columbia Dam in the 1970s, and what it was going to do, it was part of a series of dams on the Duck River, and the Duck River starts over east of Columbia in Bedford County around Shelbyville, and actually over Normandy. To be more precise, Normandy Lake, and that's where the first dam is at, and it's created Normandy Lake, but the Duck River comes through Shelbyville and then Lewisburg and then through Columbia, then it heads west towards Centerville, and then finally connects to the Tennessee River. And anyways, it's one of the most diverse rivers in the Western Hemisphere. It's got a lot of different things, and during the 1980s, they stopped they completed the construction of the dam, but they never did flood it, and they never did do the things that they were planning on doing because of what they at the time they said it was because of a snail darter. And that ended up being false. There was no snail darters in.
Doesn't exist.
No, not in our.
Funny enough.
Not in our.
Wait,
Not in our
wait,
area.
explain this. Like, dude, put a pin here because I do want to go there. Wait, what is didn't exist at all?
Well, it existed, but not in the Duck River. Apparently, the first reason was snail darters, and they were on the verge of being extinct, and they were only in this area, and they're actually up in East Tennessee.
Sure.
So that's that just simply wasn't true.
Yeah, they actually it was a very big Supreme Court case. Big TVA dam. TVA's got a long history with dams in Tennessee. And yeah, they were making T-shirts that said "Save the Snail Darter," and everybody got up all in arms about it for good reason, because if something is impacting an endangered species, it's an immediate cease and desist per the Endangered Species Act. So that was one of the biggest times when they came down on the builders of the dam and said you have to stop. Of course, afterwards they came in and said, well, this is actually going to benefit us greatly and we need to do it. So they did it anyways. But then recently they found snail darters in several different river systems, including south of Chattanooga, kind of near Graysville. And then they did some genetic work and they discovered that it was the same species as I believe it's called a stargazing darter. So snail darters are no longer a thing. They're all related and they live in a bunch of different places and are in a lot less trouble than they thought they were. So the whole thing was a very sort of iconic court case. And then it kind of turned out that it was unnecessary.
So they're trying to protect an endangered fish that was just miscategorized.
Well, and
kind of
the story that Delk tells a lot is apparently there was a 60 Minutes hit piece on the Columbia Dam because of all this, and the Carter administration that Sunday night after it was shown, that's when it was decided that the Columbia Dam would not proceed.
And so you take him now into the kind of the modern problems that are having what's trying to be resolved. That's more the immediate.
So now the big thing is we're in one of the hottest, fastest growing areas in the whole country, and in the state, obviously, and drinking water has become an issue. Back when the dam was built, the TVA acquired nearly 12,000 acres for a lake, Columbia Lake, which would make it bigger than Timms Ford Lake, which is just east of here in Winchester, Tennessee. And anyways, it's caused a lot of most people. I would say it's probably a 60-40 issue, probably 70-30 people for the Columbia Dam. Is trying, our congressman is currently in the process of getting a feasibility study done, because the land is there. The only thing that's missing really is a dam. Now it could require some other things, but for example, the interstate and other things have already been brought up to the levels they needed to be at in anticipation of the 1970, 80, or 1980 lake that never happened. So there are some things in place, but is it a possibility? I'm not sure. You have a lot of people that are saying that it'll mess with the landscape of the Duck River as it currently sits, which obviously, yes, it would. But a lot of the people that support the dam say that, hey, this is going to protect the Duck River downriver by us being able to store water and dam this particular area. And then there's also folks out there saying that one of the reasons why this dam didn't happen to begin with is because the land that they acquired has a bunch of sinkholes and it won't hold water. So you really don't know what to believe. It's kind of become more of a, just something that people have talked about around here for years, and nothing's really ever come from it. I'm not sure what to expect out of this current push, but it's the biggest that I can remember since I was a kid. And I remember as a kid seeing bumper stickers that said "Finish the Columbia Dam." But right now, currently, Columbia Power and Water just acquired access to be able to pump, I think, an additional like maybe 20 million gallons of water a day out of the Duck River with a new intake. And it's created a utility hike for water in Murray County in southern Middle Tennessee. And it's got a lot of people up in arms. So it's pretty controversial right now.
So yeah, so I mean, this sort of thing where it comes down from the feasibility study or the do you have like a rubric for this sort of impact? Like if I because like, you have to weigh like the people in Colombia need water, they have to have like that's the thing. The protection you obviously don't want to build something that's going to be like seeping oil into a river. Like there's the obvious ones. Then there's the all right, what's taking 20 million gallons a day out of the river has to change stuff with the flow that might even be worse than regulating it with a day. Like when you look at things through like a rubric of is this a net positive overall or net negative? Is it standardized or is it a feeler type thing?
Well, I'm sure there are federal laws that come into play with all of that are pretty standard across the nation. I know that state laws in terms of what is and is not regulated within a stream buffer or modifying a stream system in any way are usually fairly independent, which I think is sort of odd since a lot of streams flow through multiple states, and if you have different policies with the same stream, so they're doing something in Chattanooga and we do something in Atlanta, it affects the same river system. So um, it's an interesting subject because most of the impoundments, as a fish guy, I'm anti-impoundment. I want free flowing water, but I also understand that it's something that we've built over the past few hundred years here. And impoundments are sort of a way of life in the Southeast for many places. I will say it's turned around in terms of support from the community to get rid of some of these dams. A lot of the dams are old and not functioning anymore. There's one up in Ella in North Carolina that they're looking at taking out. Um, and then there's I forget where the other one is. Uh, Up in the Smokies, there's another one. But it used to be that fishermen who have a lot of say in wildlife policy because they're the ones buying the fishing licenses and,
Mhm.
and funding the programs uh, didn't want to mess with anything because they have their spots and they believe the fish are doing well here because of this and that sort of thing. The Little River is the one I was thinking of. But ever since more education's come out and we've sort of let people know that this actually is good for the fish to have a good riparian system that's unmodified or can be restored in some way. I think that's really switched the attitude around to it. But this case that y'all are talking about is a bit different because we're talking about finishing a dam rather than taking one down. So I think it's something that's very complicated with the state and county policy over there having to decide that. I know we have issues with data centers. People are putting, especially down in Alabama and some in South Georgia, the amount of water that is required to run some of these big data centers is just massive and has some pretty big effects on the rivers that they're taking it out of. So that 20 million gallons you're talking about is certainly significant. And like you said, the Duck River is one of the most biodiverse in the country. It's beautiful. They have wonderful fish and reptiles and amphibians there. So it's tough. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a drawn out process. It already has been drawn out for years and years, as you know. So probably not an easy answer, but there are people smarter than me working on it.
It's really become political, like a lot of things, which is sad to me. But to me, and this was just something that I put into AI months ago, and it makes the most sense. And I basically gave AI exactly what our situation was, the politics of the situation, and it talked about, and maybe get your thoughts on this. It said, you got 12,000 acres that is literally it's old farmland that the TVA required. It talked about putting off-channel reservoirs on that 12,000 acres off of the river. So not necessarily damming the river, but putting storage water essentially in reservoirs off site. So, for example, when the Duck River floods, you pump the water into these reservoirs, and then when there's a drought or whatever, and the water's down, you can pump water out of the reservoir back into the river. Uh, Apparently, it's big out west. That's how they do. That's how they do a lot of things out west in the western part of the United States. What are your thoughts on that?
I've never heard of anything like that. I think it's very interesting. It would certainly offer a different way to use that land up there that might be less impactful on the structure of the river itself. I also don't know the extent of uh, damage that had already been done when they were planning on building the dam and clearing out those acreages up there. It may already be in a spot where it wouldn't be that harmful to fill up a reservoir. So I think it's interesting. I know our streams work a lot differently than the streams out west. There's a whole program for stream remediation. I'm going to kick myself. I can't remember the man's name, but he's sort of a guru of stream remediation, and his book on it is written for farmland out west, and their rivers just function a lot different than ours.
They function differently from a regulatory standpoint or like a physical, like the way water does water
Physically. So
Okay.
they're wide, they cut deep, they're mostly in farmland, and he's got this guides to show you how to regulate that and get them back to their natural state. And then when I go to his conference and I ask him a question about how do I manage this stream, urban southeast stream, that's high velocity, it's got bedrock, it's not in a farmland. There's not really a book written on that yet. So it's complicated, and I would be hesitant to say, well, they do it out west, so it'll work here, because it's just a very different system. But it is very interesting.
It seems like it makes sense instead of doing the full product, just siphon off, hold it, without too much intrusion. You can kind of, because right now what you're saying, and that's been the issue, is basically they've been putting a bunch of band-aids on something that they've recognized needs some sort of resolution for a long time. And it's been one, like, and I understand why it's a drawn-out process. Anytime you get involved with an endangered species, or, if you find like, Native American pottery when you're trying to build like a Wendy's, like the whole thing shuts down. Like there's rules that like enact things that happen. And then there is what would you say the political lines, like where are they drawn here? Because I know there's with any sort of construction project, and sometimes it's the environmentalist aspect of people coming down, picketing, saying you're going to kill the mole rat that lives here, whatever it may be. And then there's people who are like, we want water or drill, baby. But this one does seem a little bit more nuanced than that. How would you make the breakdown? Because it doesn't seem like it's bleeding heart people who are like, save our land. It's something different, I feel.
If I had to pick sides and say who is supporting who, I think conservatives would love to have the lake, and the people I've seen against the dam are mostly people who tend to support the left.
I mean, I'm interested as to the ideology. So they're just saying
they want to leave the Duck River untouched. They want to leave it in its natural state.
But you still got to get water from somewhere.
Exactly. That's the big thing. Exactly. Is you still got to get water. And there has been talk of a pipeline from the Tennessee River to Columbia, but you're looking at about $3 billion.
Sure. And I know in Memphis, they've got that big aquifer that y'all fight Arkansas over, but you can dig into the ground and get it. But in these shallower systems that are bedrock and streams, you don't typically have access to an aquifer large enough to support a town. So
right.
So they fight, and that's, I guess you're just talking about that was something you brought up earlier that I found interesting, and I think it kind of overlaps with the ownership or who gets to regulate it. The fact that the rivers and these streams can be independent of like owned by themselves, yet they go through multiple states who have different. There's a guy in Waders in Florida where something comes, some stream in Georgia goes down to or whatever. But like if you could decide to just dam up a river in Georgia that was go south, or in this case Tennessee down to Georgia, whatever it is, what sort of interstate communication do you have to have about, like, what sort of say does Georgia get in what Tennessee does with their river up there if it comes down into Georgia?
I want to say there's hardly any recourse, and I'm not going to speak from a place of authority there, but I do know that, I mean, one of the biggest problems we've had in Georgia and especially down in Alabama is these the carpet capital Dalton with their forever chemicals that they've been dumping or not dumping for a long period of time, and they're showing up in these towns in Alabama, and Alabama says this is basically chemical trespass into our stream. What can we do about it? And I'm sure they've had several court cases about that, and some things are starting to come around now that are getting more serious. But as far as I know, it whatever they do up there, as long as it's been approved in that state, then it's good to go.
And see, there's been a lot of skepticism up here with the fact that TDEC and others approved this new intake by Columbia Power and Water downstream from the old Monsanto property. Exactly. Ooh's the word.
Is it just cheaper to build it closer? Did it have to be down?
I think just because of where the current intake is at now, which is in Columbia, downtown Columbia, they wanted something further out that would apparently there has to be a certain amount of distance from one intake to another. But yeah, in fact, there's old chemical plants, and as I said, Monsanto, between downtown Columbia, if you follow the river, all the way out as you get out towards Williamsport, where they're going to put this intake at. So, yeah.
I mean, the Monsanto thing, I putting it right downstream of that seems like that might be a Aaron Brockovich sequel in due course, but like
I'm sure they'll do decades of soil testing and water testing, and I mean, at the end of the day, whatever serves the people the best of the town is going to go through. That's just kind of how it works. With that up, the other dam I was talking about, where there goes to the Supreme Court, it's the first time the Endangered Species Act comes through and stops something, and then 3 weeks later they said, "But we really, really need to do it," and they said, "Okay, you can do it," and you can pay a fine. Or something of that sort, or maybe you have a remediation credit that you need to go build a wetland somewhere to offset the impact you have here. There's always seems to be a way around it, and it was sort of a depressing course I took in environmental law, because you would get these wins, and the law is functioning how it's supposed to, but at the end of the day, people are going to people, and we need to build infrastructure.
So it's just basically they won the case, and they were like, but I know by the letter of the law, and we said this, yes, but also maybe takes these backsies, and we'd like to not. If you could wave a magic wand, like this whole process with, I know it's so much more complicated than you're involved, because you can see the things, be it Congress, state, whatever it may be, has to make these decisions, funding, everything else, all the way down to the feasibility studies and tests and all. If you could wave a magic wand and make the system, like, where do you think the biggest problems are? Like, if you could fix something with this whole process, why it takes so long, why it bothers people, like, is there one fix that, I mean, it might be really hard to do, but if you could like wave a wand and be like, this part's easier, it would make things go smoother.
I mean, having been a state and a city worker, I've never been a federal worker, but I know many of them. You always just hear about the bureaucracy of how long everything takes and how many people it has to go through. I don't know that there's any way to avoid it. You can't wave a magic wand and say only one person's in charge, because then there aren't any checks and balances. And I think people want to be able to have their input as well from the community. So I think city, state, federal government is just, it stagnates sometimes by its nature, which can be frustrating, but also maybe provide some safeguards for some big decisions, I suppose.
We have an environmental lawyer that is in Columbia now. He's been here the last 10 or 15 years. He's from Alabama, but he's representing some folks, and they are involved in this project. They're anti against the intake, and I mean, some of the things they found, or that he's found, that he's published online. For example, the Girl Scouts of America used to have a camp out at the Monsanto property, and they were told, I believe there was some tests done by the EPA about the water out there on Monsanto's property. And basically, there was instructions that they were not to use any of the water out there at the camp. So there is I personally don't think any of this stuff's going to happen anytime soon. In fact, I think we're going to be in a situation where we're going to need water and we're not going to know what to do because things are going to be tied up in court, and I don't know what the answer is going to be.
When things are built, I understand the rationale behind wanting to make sure that you know there are checks and balances and things aren't rushed irresponsibly. But I think the other side of the coin where it goes too far is where so much bureaucracy and layers of like insulation from decision making are cooked into the policy. Like you take like the infrastructure bill that went through, like in order for like a town or a city to like go about applying for these things, before you can even do the initial uh, test feasibility study, the initial one, there's 18 steps that you have to go through before you can submit a proposal for an initial feasibility study. That is part of like that's not just how it worked itself out over a period of time of different, bureaucracies layering on top of each other. This was the bill, like in the bill, this was the process. So they built in the idea for it to be a little bit restrictive. I get that the barrier of entry shouldn't be everybody has their hand in the cookie jar and everybody wants them. So you do need to have it to be people that really need it or cities or municipalities that could do it. But making it so prohibitive and complicated for the reason of like it just gets so messy and nothing ever gets done because but you're talking about how many times they've restarted feasibility studies or environmental impact studies or building talk about when we like the Eisenhower interstate system. Like if we'd have done the environmental impact study on every mile of road we laid, I don't know if I could get from here to Atlanta.
Right. And by the time you finished it, it would have been 15 years and your data's no good anymore. And you'd have to do it again. I've had several experiences where projects, whether they're with the Army Corps or another big group, we've already done the survey, which takes a lot of manpower and hours and time and drone flights and all this LiDAR stuff and very complicated process. And then we get to the point where we finally get funding for the project and they got to do everything again because it's 10 years old and we're like, the stream's moved. So it's pretty frustrating. It is nice to be able to do small scale projects where you have total control over them and you can just say, let's knock it out in 2 weeks. We get a contract and it's done. He can fix a stream bank that's collapsing a soccer field or something like that. But these bigger projects, when you start getting federal involvement and state governance involvement, it's just how it goes. It gets bigger and bigger, and it gets more complicated to,
I mean, the idea that the data goes bad, something like you're sitting there with a ticking time bomb, like you have a clock on when you can do this stuff, and then there's bureaucratic foot dragging, and then so by the time they finally get to the approval thing, do they know that the data is like the people who were saying, all right, let's go? Do they know that how short of a timeline they're on to have to go back to the starting line?
I do not know for that particular project. It may be the exact same as it has been. They may have been doing studies year by year and just watching it change and updating their paperwork. I think that would probably be the smartest thing to do. So they might be able to go when they get the green light. But I know from my previous experience, it's something that sometimes surveys get lost. Sometimes a surveyor disagrees with another surveyor and you have conflict of interest and that sort of thing. And I don't know. I'm glad it's not a part of my job to figure the damn stuff out because inundations in the Southeast have been problematic. Whether you're trying to get rid of a dam or whether you're trying to build one, it seems.
What's your job on the day to day, like walking the rivers, making sure everything's there. What's the weirdest thing you found?
Ooh.
Like just walking these rivers. So like some of them are beautiful, like mountain streams. Some are in like downtown Atlanta. So like it's a full swath of. Yeah, we got 1 minute. I'll let you think on it because we're gonna go to break in just a minute. But yeah, some of these are not in great neighborhoods who maybe have a firearm or two just for safekeeping tossed into a body of water. What's the best thing you found?
We have found weapons. I found 2 Kias cars parked down that had been hot wired and put by the stream. We had them towed out. We came back 2 weeks later and there were 2 more Kias down by the stream, totally different cars.
Just during the Kia Boys craze of where you take a USB stick. And,
It's easy to take those things, I guess.
Yeah, they had the innovative young gentleman in Atlanta figured out that you could take a USB stick and upload it with a very simple virus and it would turn on Kias. And they very kindly parked them at the bottom of Fulton County Lakes. So
I'm sure they were frustrated when they took them away. They got more, so.
yeah, we were going to use those later. All right, well, we're going to go to break here. Thank y'all for being in the middle of it. We will circle back with y'all when we get back. Thank you very much.
This is Coach Trudez Dark from Columbia Central High School football. You are listening to 101.7 WKOM in Columbia, Tennessee.
We at Hollins Pharmacy must be doing something right. We've been providing pharmaceutical services in the Middle Tennessee area for over 60 years. The guiding principles of our business are fast, accurate, friendly, personal service. We do not have long waiting lines and our phone calls are answered by a staff member. We strive to get to know our customers by name, not just a date of birth or number. We are your locally owned hometown pharmacy and we appreciate your business. We urge you to come visit us at Hollins Pharmacy, 1608 Hatcher Lane here in Columbia.
Hey, this is Derek Ransom with 10 Pin Alley, voted #1 family entertainment center in Murray County. We offer 32 bowling lanes, giant arcade, laser tag, bumper cars, and a full cafe and bar menu. We also specialize in group events, kids and adult birthday parties, company parties, sports team parties, and holiday parties. We're located at 322 East James Campbell Boulevard in Columbia. Call us today at 931-381-BOWL or visit us at 10pin.com. 10 Pin Alley, it's where the good times roll.
In today's uncertain world, you can never be too careful about your family's financial future. That's why the Parker Group, a part of Baird's Private Wealth Management, is offering a free second opinion on your financial plans. Let us review your current plan, and we will identify any gaps and offer suggestions to improve it. Please call the Parker Group at 931-548-3737. That's 931-548-3737. Robert W. Baird and Company Incorporated does not offer tax or legal advice.
This is Mark Curry at the Trailer Store. We are a local, family-owned business. Every day, I work with my wife, Susie, my mother, Becky, and my son, Justin. We offer a full line of lawnmower trailers, utility trailers, stock trailers, and a full line of trailer parts. We also offer service. Come see us at 1021 New Lewisburg Highway. Call us at 931-381-2795. That's 931-381-2795.
Farmer Johnny here, Taylor Family Farm. I want to give y'all a little look-see. We raise 100% non-GMO, grass-fed beef, pasture chicken, and pork on our family farm. Everything that we grow is raised with love and care to ensure the highest quality and nutrition for our family and customers. You can shop online at TaylorFamilyFarmTN.com or visit our farm store in person at Etheridge, Tennessee at 301 Dave Reisner Road. That's TaylorFamilyFarmTN.com for more information.
Hi, I'm Kelly Dobson, owner of Caring Hearts Home Healthcare here in Columbia. For over 20 years, we've proudly served our community, locally owned and operated, providing trusted care you can count on. We support seniors, individuals with disabilities, and even short-term care after surgery. From personal care to homemaking and companionship, our team is here to help you or your loved one live safely and comfortably at home. Call Caring Hearts today at 931-381-5470 or stop by in person, 1121 Trotwood Avenue here in Columbia.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones & Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones & Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Hello, my name is Zach Maddox. I'm a proud third-generation owner-operator of Columbia Paint and Wallcover, founded by my grandfather, Ralph Maddox, in 1946. We offer a variety of paint and wallcovering products, but our passion is customer service. We can offer many personalized services and can come out to your house or business if needed.
Come visit us at our Columbia location or our new Spring Hill location behind Church of the City, or visit us online at paintcolumbia.com.
Columbia, your Love's travel stop just got a whole lot better. We've modernized our space at 1624 Bear Creek Pike at exit 46 to bring you more of what you want with fuel discounts, additional food offerings, and everything you need to hit the road with ease. Come say hi at the remodeled Love's in Columbia. We thank you for allowing us to be a part of your community. Safe travels.
Experience snoring, trouble sleeping, daytime exhaustion? All of these could be signs of a sleep disorder. Dr. Samini Uman is bringing her sleep practice to Middle Tennessee, offering both clinic and online appointments with proven results. Telehealth appointments with no waiting rooms, home and in-lab sleep studies with local sleep lab partnerships, including Williamson Med Center. Visit oursleepdoc.com or call 615-302-8039. Your path to better sleep starts here.
On the farm, uptime isn't just nice to have, it's a must-have. That's why JLG Ag telehandlers are a multitasking workhorse. Whether moving and loading more, stacking higher, or even accessing tighter spots with compact models, these machines help poultry, cotton, and row crop producers maximize every moment on the job. Once you get behind the wheel, you'll get more done. It's that simple. See JLG Ag telehandlers for yourself. Come out to Try Green Equipment in Columbia, just off Theta Pike.
We're back in the middle of it, and we are glad to be here with you today. I've got Magic Mike Montgomery with me. We're going over the inside baseball on some of the water things as a herpetologist. And what's the full job title we're working with here? I'm just
right now I'm an ecology specialist, so that's sort of a generic term, but we do, like I said, we do stream restorations. I do invasive species removals. I do fish stuff and salamander stuff and all sorts of things. So it's probably a pretty good title for what the job is.
I got a question for you. And again, if I'm not even close to what you do, just tell me. But Asian carp, it's a big topic. What do you know about those fish?
Oh, you were talking about the jumpy ones,
yes,
or the grass carp? I don't know much about the Asian jumping carp beyond that there's some great internet videos of kids with football helmets driving around getting hit in the head, or not with helmets. That's even worse. But
are they big of a threat, that, as they say, to the rivers?
Carp in general have been, especially invasive carp. It's a big fish with a big appetite. I know a lot of grass carp. If you're going to get a grass carp in your pond, they require it to be, I think they call it a haploid, like a non-breeding. They breed them so that they cannot breed. So you get two carp, and you're only ever going to have two, because if you get 60 of them and you put them in a lake, then all of the vegetation is going to be gone.
The seedless watermelon of fish,
pretty much. So carp are just, they're very they're a strong fish. They're durable. They do well in most temperatures. I have seen some videos from, I forget which, it might have been TWRA or I forget who it was, but doing some boat electrofishing, and they chase all these jumping carp to the dam, and then they just fry them all there, and they a lot of them still make it. They're a powerful fish, and they reproduce quickly, and they're robust. So I don't know personally much about it. We don't have them, as far as I know, close to me in the Chattahoochee or anything like that, but certainly a problem. Invasive species have been sort of creeping up all over the place since the 40s and 50s, and it's not getting much better, as you can see with the python situation they're dealing with in Florida. So it's the carp are an issue, but I don't know what their general impact is beyond competition for food sources.
Now maybe you can answer this, because there's been a lot of rumors about this, that allegedly they found alligators as far north as the Tennessee River in Alabama.
I have seen an alligator in the Chattahoochee River, but it was much farther south. I think when something like that happens, if it was in the Tennessee River, I would have to say it was a pet that was released. I think it just gets, I know that alligators can survive icing over. They really prefer not to. You'll see alligators as far north as Athens in the Ocmulgee River. But anytime if someone told me they saw one in the Tennessee River, even if it was Alabama, I don't know. I'd be curious to know if it was a pet or not.
I
Interesting.
know there's been like sharks in the Mississippi, like in front of Memphis.
Sure. I think bull shark made it all the way up to St. Louis one time, middle of the country.
That's wild.
That is
Well,
wild.
dude, when we were going to break, I was asking the weirdest things he's found, and he has not been a colleague of his. I'd like for you to. They found a dead body, so let's elaborate.
Well, Atlanta's a very big city. All sorts of things get thrown in our streams, and we have a lot of people who live there. And this was nothing nefarious. It was just somebody who had gone down to wash their clothes and either fell over or got sick or something. And my colleague came upon them, and we called the police, and they responded promptly, and we got offered psych services if we needed it because it's pretty dramatic. But I'm honestly surprised that stuff like that doesn't happen more. Just because I'm basically a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crawling through culverts and sewers and things like that, and I find all sorts of stuff. But no, that's the only time I've ever heard of that happening. But it's certainly always a possibility. I would say the main thing I worry about when I'm in there is dogs. There's a lot of big dogs in Atlanta that are not very well behaved, and a lot of houses have streams behind them, and they'll fence the sides in between their yards, but they're not going to fence the stream because they figure, why would anybody do that? Why would anybody be back there? But I'm back there. So I'll walk back there, and I've had a few times where I've had little sketchy encounters with some big pit bulls. And
So you're just like boxed in on either side by a fence, that just like a bowling alley, a pit bull and Mike.
Pretty much. I've never had anything bad happen, but I carry dog spray and I've got a big stick. So
Is dog spray different than bear spray, or is it?
I would think it's the same sort of capsaicin material. I mean, I think it would work on me too. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure it sucks across the board. I just didn't know. I didn't know bear spray comes in like a fire hydrant,
Oh,
a fire
it's small.
extinguisher.
It's like a little purse size thing, but yeah, I've never had to use it. It's for the most part a very safe job. I think that the most dangerous thing I come across is stuff I can step on, like shopping carts I don't see, or needles or things like that. But
What about snakes?
snakes are, as a herpetologist or a herpetology enthusiast, I really like snakes. I just showed my kid one 2 nights ago. I would say I very rarely see them, even though I'm out in the woods every day and in the streams every day. If I do see them, it's almost always a brown water snake, which will bite you, but just don't touch it and it won't. They're not venomous.
Is that the one we saw
Yes.
yesterday?
I've seen in my 4 or 5 years in the natural resources field, I think I've seen two copperheads, and both of them were at night. Um, I've seen a couple dead on the road. I've never seen a rattlesnake. It's generally very safe. I don't recommend anybody picking up a snake they can't identify, or even if they can't identify it, they can still tag you.
We have rattlesnakes up here.
Yes, up here in North Carolina, we've got them where we are right now. There is one strange spot sort of west of Atlanta called Sweetwater Creek State Park, and it's full of timber rattlesnakes, and I don't know why. They're not anywhere else. We don't have water moccasins, cottonmouths. They get pretty close, sort of like maybe an hour south of the city, Metro Atlanta Greater. But many times I've been in a stream and the homeowner comes down and they're like, "There's a bunch of cottonmouths down there. Be careful." And I'm like, I really doubt it. I've never seen one. It doesn't happen. But when you're in South Georgia, absolutely, it would be a much. I'd be watching where I put my hands a lot more if I was doing it in Tifton.
How much heads up do you have to give people? Because like in the instant scenario you're talking about with the dogs, or you're going like in people's backyards, do they know? Because if it's someone like a random person dressed in waders walking through what is ostensibly their backyard, do they get a heads up?
We get a lot of weird looks. Most people are happy to see us once they understand what we're doing. It's a little difficult, and this was sort of the same case working for the state too, where we're under basically federal orders from the Clean Water Act to check the navigable waters of our city, and our infrastructure and our MS4 outfalls that come from the street to make sure that nothing's
what
poisoning the water.
MS4, what is
An MS4, anytime you see a hole in a curb, they end up in a pipe. That storm water ends up in a pipe and goes to the stream somewhere. So they all pop out. We got to look at those because if they're wet and they're not supposed to be, we got to find what's discharging. If it's sewer, then that's a violation of the Clean Water Act and we have to fix it. So we're under a federal mandate to be checking these things. So we're allowed to be there, but you're also sometimes on private property. If we're doing something egregious where I'm obviously going to be on somebody's property for a long time and they're home, I'm showing them my badge and I'm knocking on their door and saying, this is what we're doing. Is this okay that we're here? Obviously, if we're ever confronted by anybody who really has a problem with us being there, it's not worth checking the MS4 outfall, and we will do it next time. So I'm happy to leave. But
have you gotten like chased off with like a broom or like a?
I've never been broomed. No, most people are very reasonable. Some people have been more upset than others, but for the most part, they're happy to see us because they ask what we're doing. We say, checking to make sure you don't have any sewer pouring out behind your house. And they're like, thank you very much. That sounds great. So,
I would love for that not to be the case. So give it a. When you talked to earlier about obviously you found the key as you called the police who got them towed out and thing. If you find a gun, do you have to like wait there, call the cop, have it returned? So there's you have protocols for things you find in.
I don't know that that's in our standard operating procedure, but I think it's
common sense.
Common sense. If we have anything that should involve a police officer, I'd rather call and wait. I'm not going to take anything home with me. So
yeah, it's not a souvenir of like. Yeah, I know I get that because I know that I've seen those things that people gone down the YouTube rabbit hole as many have on the magnet fishing and
with the weights.
Yeah. And they bring up guns and they have to wait on the bridge and call the police.
Oh, I thought you meant the people who were stuffing their fish with weights.
Oh no, but
that's a whole nother thing.
I'm talking about the magnet fishing where they like throw like a really high powered magnet over like a bridge and like troll for metal objects. They get like busted up bikes and shopping carts, but they get guns.
In Atlanta, you would get a lot of Lime scooters. I think I was in a stream, I guess Southwest Atlanta last week, and I saw one scooter, and then I saw two, and I think I found 30 or 40 of them, and then we came up to this apartment complex that had a walking bridge, and I was like, man, they're just yeeting these things off the bridge for fun.
Is it just for fun?
I assume so, because I think to get it there, you would just have to pick it up, or you'd have to register your ID with it in order to rent it, and then they could know. I don't think they're coming to check, and there's no Lime police that are saying don't do this. We've called them before and said, are you going to come pick these up? And they're not interested. So
you are in the South. Have you come across any cool like old Civil War things that a lot of
I found a really cool car in the woods the other day, and Reddit is just an amazing place, and of course there's like a car in the woods subreddit or something, and I was like, what is this? And they're like, that's a 1940 Pontiac Firebird something, I don't know. It was really cool, and they sent me pictures of it, and everybody was excited about it. It was like, all right, well, it's
there you go.
It's out by this old house, and it had no identification markers on it. It had like a fender, and I took a picture of like maybe where the steering wheel used to be, and they were like, that's 1946. They knew right away. It was amazing. But yeah, some cool cars, some cool old structures that are pretty much down to the fireplace now. We do have a lot of Native American history there, and a lot of our sites pass through those, but I've never found any artifacts myself. We do try and find cool. If you find a cool action figure, you take it and bring in the office. My buddy's got a pirate ship he found. I thought that was a great find. I just found a sign from a different river. I don't know why it was in our river, so I took that. But
yeah, I figure like he's saying there's some of these places where there would have been battles, or I mean, especially around north of Atlanta. Obviously, by the time they got to Atlanta, they were just burning stuff for the most part, not
exactly
shooting less. By the time Sherman really made his rounds, but
well, I'm sure if you got a dredge and you sat at the mouth of Nancy Creek or Peachtree Creek going into the Chattahoochee, where every piece of water from Atlanta for eons has flowed out, and it's probably about 30 feet of sand down there. But if you dug in there, I'm sure you'd pull up some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
they found a mini ball around the not Moore's Mill. Remember the park, the park near where I grew up. Peachtree Battle and Moore's Mill. I found a little mini ball when I was a kid.
Nice.
There's also a chance that somebody planted it, so I could find it, like one of those gem mines. I've always kind of concern myself as that wasn't actually real, but
A listener's going to call in and say, "Yeah, that was me. Sorry."
I did it. No, I was thinking more of a grandparent who had
Yeah.
one, and I think Granddaddy did it, and we were all looking for it together, and was getting frustrated because we weren't finding anything. But
You
no, I
wouldn't
find
believe the
that
stuff that people still find up here, just with metal detecting finding belt buckles that say CSA on them for the Confederacy, and it's insane the stuff that they
I'd
still
love. I mean,
find.
I think metal. I feel like that would be a hobby that you would get into a bit a bit more than you should.
I probably would. I have too many hobbies already beyond my snorkeling and kayaking and all the other stuff that I do and waste my money on. But the yeah, metal metal hounding.
Yeah, he went
It's pretty cool.
he went scuba he went snorkeling yesterday in like frigid temperatures in like a super wetsuit to take pictures of hellbender salamanders in the water, and I was next to a fire.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was beautiful. I like to do underwater photography when I can. I don't get to do it a whole lot, but definitely need a thick wetsuit when you're in the water for that long in a river.
And watching him get in and out of it is an absolute delight. It is a spectacle for the eyes.
I look like a Christmas ham.
And it's warm, and I wouldn't even think to even touch the water, and he's popping in. But yeah, I mean, I feel like you could get a metal detector for your walks, like not a big one, just one that's like it will pop up, just one that you could like carry. I don't know, one that
You'll
like travel
probably be
behind.
finding a lot of bullet casings and newer metal. It's a lot of trash. Like you said, there are a few streams where I stop and I look and I'm like, man, I could be in North Georgia right now. This is gorgeous bedrock and no trash, and there probably were trout here at some point. And then sometimes I'm under a bridge
Needles and
in all sorts of just mud and raw sewage. So
who's in charge of? I mean, I know y'all are if there's like a leak or whatever, but like the trash that starts to accumulate of people, the bird scooters, all of these. I know you're talking about all the ecological impacts of a dam or a pumping station or all of that. Yet there are a bunch of bags from Target that are up against the riverbank that have accumulated over forever and ever. Whose job is it to snag that stuff?
I wouldn't say that there's anybody necessarily who has that job. We do organize stream cleanups ourselves several times a year, but anybody's welcome to join. Um, and we sort of manage the cities. It's a statewide program, but there's an adopt a stream program where let's say we have our stream right here. We're curious about the stream's health. You register. We bring you a kit that has some chemical tests and oxygen and pH and that sort of thing. And then you enter it online and you kind of get a running tally of how your stream is doing, and then the people in charge of all the data get information from all over the state. So that's a very cool community-based, community-driven project. And when you adopt a stream, I assume you'd pick up some trash too. But walking to Chattahoochee, and there was a whole dumpster in there the other day, and it's like that's probably going to be here for 120 years. I don't know.
It's weird to me that there's not for all of the stuff that we spent this whole time talking about the government involvement and environmental impact studies and all of this stuff, the fact that just the day-to-day trash and like you said, full dumpster, that part is just like, well, it's there. That part isn't addressed. But I feel like ecologically, all these things they're talking about, if we did this or if we built this, it's a more proactive, like we are involving ourselves in this. This seems like the impact is just as much, but just by passively not involving yourselves or having a dedicated way. I know like the efforts y'all are doing are awesome. I think that's great, but I find it surprising that there isn't a dedicated, you know, be it in y'all's department or somewhere else in the state, local, or federal government whose job it is to make sure that that sort of stuff gets cleaned up.
We have spent some money lately. That we kind of did this trial program before I was there, and now we're expanding it where we have trash traps. So areas that are prone, public parks or anything like that, where there's bound to be more trash coming from upstream. They're floating traps that sort of go on the surface of the water, and then they have a collection basin. There's some bigger than others.
It's kind of thing out there comes in over the top and like,
Yes.
yeah.
So, well, it's kind of like that. It's more like a funnel that's sitting on top of the water. And we do have 9 or 10 of those, and we contract people to come clean them out, and they work. They do sometimes. But Atlanta's a big city. There's a lot of plastic in the water, and it's sad to see. But I mean, after a big rainstorm, it all ends up in Columbus because the Chattahoochee it's such a flashy river. I mean, everything's gone right away, and then it's replaced by more from upstream, maybe from Helen or wherever it's coming from. So everybody lives downstream from somebody, and Atlanta just happens to have a lot of plastics and papers.
Where that goes with like the forever plastics and that sort. I know that gets into a bit of like medical grade type, sciencey stuff about the effects it has, but from an ecological standpoint and the quality of the water and that sort of stuff, how much of an impact does that sort of pollution have as opposed like I know it's not a complete apples and oranges comparison, but like the impact of plastics and chemicals that get put into the water on the regular basis that do go downstream versus the impact of a small dam or like on the whole. Because like what he had said earlier about the people who are against it want it to be the river to be in its natural state and untouched, but taking 20 million gallons a day out of it isn't its natural state. That's a
True.
less so like all of these things are there is a trade-off somewhere. How bad is the plastic and stuff in that for the fish, for the
I'm not sure we're gonna even really know that until I'm diagnosed with something in 40 or 50 years. Hopefully, I make it that long. I think the plastics, having anything like that in your body, it can't be good to stack up polymers within your bloodstream and in your brain. And I do know that they travel very rapidly across fish membranes. So it gets in the fish pretty quick. And then if you eat the fish, especially freshwater fish with I forget the acronym for it, but these forever chemicals, they find really high levels
PVA,
in the wild trout, the Teflon basically. And then they stopped making that, but it's something different now. But yeah, it rapidly travels to fish. I think it's going to become more of a visible problem in our lifetime. Everybody knows about mercury and not eating too much tuna fish and things like that. But that's seemingly mostly a natural process of just bioaccumulation. But bioaccumulating these human-made substances that are then transferring to our bodies and staying there for decades or even our entire lives. I think something like that is going to be if not already under research, a really big problem.
it'll be this, yeah, I mean, it'll be like the cigarettes from like the 90s, like, yeah, this is killing you. And everyone in retrospect is like, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause it stands to reason that this is not great. Like, how did y'all ever think that this was something normal?
We drink out of water bottles. We're drinking out of plastic cups. The baby formula comes in a plastic cup with an aluminum tin on it, and I'm like, how much of this stuff is going in everywhere? I don't think we truly know, and I don't think we will until.
It's down plastic and brain molecules.
Oh yeah,
like crazy. I mean, like you eat, what is it? Like you eat the equivalent of a credit card worth of plastic in a week or something on average. It's that part's wild. The Teflon is also wild. The DuPont, was like, this is for military applications for something. And then they're like, you know what? Let's cook with it.
Yeah.
There was no like, could this be bad or could this be healthy? Like it was just, let's get it real, real hot. And then
we'll make some good eggs.
It doesn't not work. It might kill you later, but you're spending way less time scrubbing eggs off the dish.
It's true.
So there's a benefit there.
That whole, I forget the company. They still make a bunch of stuff, but the Teflon deal was
DuPont I believe it was DuPont who did it.
Who do the command strips?
3M.
3M was a part of that as well, and they did face pretty harsh fines for when they found out how much it was happening. But yeah, I mean, that's just the world we live in. You can either, I mean, you can't really isolate yourself from it. It's everywhere.
Those the DuPont plant that's just north of the one that's in Old Hickory, I think it is. Where is it near y'all?
We have one over in New Johnsonville, which is kind of west of here off the Tennessee River, and there may be one up in Nashville, but I'm not sure. The one I know that exists is over in New Johnsonville.
Okay, so I know there's one that was fairly close by that was part of the whole DuPont getting in trouble for things a while ago. They were kind of just super dumping stuff into the Tennessee River.
Yeah, it's right off the Tennessee River over there in New Johnsonville. Yeah, it's not.
And that's another one of those things that talking about environmental credits, where these large corporations, you get a certain emissions limit where they're like, you can only dump this much poison into the river, and they say, okay, We want to dump more than that.
We pay you to dump more. That seems crazy to
Can
me.
we pay a different company and cut down their emissions and then kind of use that as credit for us? And they say, okay. So again, it's these loopholes that they know how to get around, and they've been doing it for years and years and years. So it's frustrating.
And speaking of plastics, I mentioned that one of the options they mentioned for this area would be a potential pipeline from the Tennessee River. One of the talking points that I've heard against the pipeline is the microplastics that would be coming. Apparently, we don't have as many now with the Duck River, but we would have much more in our water if we got it from the Tennessee River.
Absolutely. The bigger the water body,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like eating tuna fish. All the small streams go into the big ones, and I mean that's why people say don't shoot the hooch after it rains. I wouldn't do it anyways because that's just a big river. It kind of scares me, and I get sunburned easy. But yeah, I mean the Tennessee River definitely bioaccumulates everything that's upstream from it, so it would certainly be a less pure water source.
The stuff with like the credits. So I know this has been a thing for with carbon credits or carbon offsets and purchasing them from another company, and then other companies use them. There was a huge thing during the EV uptick where they're trying to go to that because of all of the subsidies that you could get, and you could sell them. There's a ton of companies whose entire like job as a functioning company was to sell their tax credits to other companies.
Conservation banks.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and so they're not. The idea in principle would be that these two companies of this amount of size can emit X amount of bad things, be it plastic or CO2 or whatever the bad thing is. And the one company isn't, the other company's doubling. They take their credit. So their idea in their head is that it's a net flush. But what ends up happening for the most part is these companies, like you're saying, yeah, the conservation banks, they weren't going to do anything anyway, but their job now is they hypothetically were going to pollute. Now they're not. So they're going to sell it to someone else and then move money around for credits based off of an idea that we have put pen to paper and figured out exactly how much bad things are allowed to happen. Any more than that, unacceptable unless you pay for it.
Or they'll do it somewhere completely different. So they'll say, we're gonna build a Walmart on this wetland, and we got the permit to do it somehow. So we're going to destroy this wetland, but it has this many trees that are this big, and we'll go make a man-made wetland 60 miles to the south, and we'll call it even because that's the same size. And you have to say, well, it's not even because to establish a wetland takes hundreds of years. You've made a man-made wetland and it looks like one, but you got to wait for the animals to move in if they're even there. You've completely destroyed the habitat with your Walmart. And it's just they're treating it like it's apples to apples, and it's legal to do it that way, but it's really problematic in my mind.
So is the building of the wetland 60 miles away in that hypothetical / very real thing that people do, is that a requirement for that offset? Is it just like a PR thing? Like, please don't get mad. We built another place for the cranes to live, or
somebody's going to have to build the wetland. It might not be the company who destroyed the wetlands, but through a conservation bank and through use of credits, something will be recompensed that way. And it has to be per the law. So somebody's building a wetland somewhere, but it's in my mind it's not equal because it's not in the same place and it's already been devastated there, and it's not. I mean, establishing habitat takes hundreds of years.
Yeah, who's to decide what's equal in this scenario? It's not like there's so many times where it could be like, all right, I spent $50, you owe me $50. This is, I get it. You could say number of trees or acreage or whatever, but yeah, if it's 500-year-old wetland with a thriving ecosystem, everything else it's not about the acreage. It's about what's there. So whatever law is in place that is like, you need to replace this, when it's not replaceable, how is that even considered? Like, how does it fit within the law to say like in kind replacement?
I think it's the only way to make it work because it's impossible. But I mean, it is better than nothing.
I agree with that, but it seems like an arbitrary. I mean, I guess I wonder how the law would be written that they are saying like, got rid of this much wetland, I replace it here, even though they are so different.
I'm not sure that there's a good way to do it, but it's certainly an interesting thought. I hope one day that they do figure out a better way to manage it, because it does seem like a way a way for big corporations to cut corners, which they're very good at, as we know. So
Do you think with I know we got about 3 minutes left, but with modern, I know you're talking about earlier going up with drones and LiDAR and all that sort of stuff. The amount of technology that's like how much has it changed since you started versus now, and like where do you see it going? I know like mapping with AI and like seeing flows and stuff is a huge part of how things are being put into the workforce now. How do you see it working its way into what you do?
the drone technology has really catapulted a lot of things forward. Using drone to map and ArcGIS to map our systems and where we have problematic areas, and being able to access that data from my iPad right away rather than using a waterproof pen and pencil, which is I was doing 5 years ago. It's pretty remarkable. So the resources are there. It's gotten a lot better. I think we have the means um to really carry it forward the right way and be good stewards to the environment like we should be.
I mean, being able to have a drone go up and do LiDAR and then have that as part of a database that is like easily, because normally you have to walk every square inch as opposed to just zooming, going over.
Fly it over and get bathymetric data from above the water. Yeah.
Probably more than you could do with a pen and paper at all. Because you're not measuring, it's 30 feet wide here, 8 feet here,
Accurate and faster.
And so is that scalable? Is it like you with the drone, or is it like, do you see it being like an AI powered drone that takes laps once a day?
I think eventually, sure. I think it's here now, so it's not going anywhere.
I think it's fascinating. Well, do I know we are up to date? You got any other questions for Mr. Mike?
I don't think so, man. It's great to have you on. Very interesting topics of discussion, to say the least.
Yeah, no, I think next time we get into I'll tag him in next time we get into, Del gets into the borderline fist fight about the dam. We tag him in for the rubs. The reason that I even brought it up is because during the early show, Del, the guy who owns the station, he and there's several other guys that are on the committee and the council. They hold different jobs, but they're very pro dam. Thinks it's a pipe dream and ridiculous. They get into old man fist fights on the radio about it.
Fun. It's a good topic. It gets the people going.
It's a good one. Well, y'all, thank y'all so very much for being with us. I hope everybody had a great Easter. I appreciate your time. Have a great and safe rest of your week. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Mike, I appreciate you being here. As always, Clayton, you as well. To everybody out there, Clay and Block coming up next. And I appreciate you being with us. We'll see you tomorrow on In the Middle of It. I've been Jeb. I hope y'all been good. Have a great rest of your day.